pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, just a couple of quick announcements before we get going. We got some good news, and I like to give good news. We have a point person / chairperson for Pleasant Valley Weekend. I'd like to just introduce Terry McCormick. She worked with us on the Bicentennial last year, and she's a rising star in Pleasant Valley, I guarantee it. So that's going to be good. And the dates are going to be September 16, 17, and 18, I believe, right? So that's good news as well. Other good news, just to give you a heads up, I know the traffic has been a little bit rough this last couple of weeks, last 10 days or so. It's been tough. And the DOT has been called and hounded constantly by myself. And today they came out yet again, and what I just saw, I witnessed, was on West Road has been fixed, so it doesn't change every 6 seconds and lets 2 cars through. So it should be a lot better in town starting tomorrow and certainly by Friday's big rush hour. So hopefully that's good. All right. We have everybody here tonight. That's great. All correspondence are on file in the town clerk's office. The town clerk's going to be a little bit late tonight. She's got a personal thing that she has to take care of, and so she'll be coming in midway through the meeting. So let's moving right along. So we have tonight we're going to do some subcommittee reports that we have. Well, some of the subcommittees have been working on certain things, and some subcommittees didn't get a chance to get to work a little bit because they need the other subcommittees to kind of push them along, so one step at a time. So first we're going to have one of the subcommittees is the town water issue that we've been talking about for the last 200 and something years. How many is it, 200 years? Yeah. And we have with us Mr. Greg Bullner from CPL making that presentation, and he will also do the town hall.
Now it's on. Sorry. So just presenting on the town water. So a couple years ago, 2020, the town had another consultant who had put together a water map that was under a grant that was prepared and submitted to DEC. That water map was larger. It showed the water supply coming from Route 44, the City-Town Joint Water Board coming down 44, and trying to get the costs in line and trying to form a district that was more addressing the issues in the Hamlet area. The town had been working on trying to look at a smaller water supply area. This is about half the size as far as water demand, but it serves primarily the areas within the Hamlet where there's been historic water issues for water supply, as well as along West Road, and picks up the West Road School, and then the location of the storage tank, which is kind of the high point, is Rettle Park, which is land that the town already owns. The original plan had the storage tank in the center of town on a property owned by a person that's actually got a development in front of the planning board. So this puts the tank at that same basic elevation, but on property that the town owns. That is a town park, so there will need to be some park trade between other lands that the town owns and that, because parklands are parklands, so there would be a trade, an offset to establish that land. We went through and looked at the water district and the storage tank, just a couple of numbers. The total project, just real quick, the green lines on there that you can see, that would be 8-inch water main, 12-inch water main, and then the blue lines would be 8-inch water main. So what that does is it provides generally it provides about 2,000 gallons per minute of fire flow within the commercial area, a little bit less in the residential area north of the Hamlet, but about 2,000 gallons a minute in the commercial area, which is important to the fire department. Also with this, the storage tank would have sufficient water supply for both domestic use and fire flow. So there would be excess water to allow for fire flow, so that's a positive for the town. The total project cost would be about $9.44 million. Those numbers we updated from what was done back in 2020. A lot of the numbers, you know, because of what's happened since 2020 to today, prices have gone up quite a bit, and so we updated the numbers that were in the original map plan report, brought them in line with what current costs are. So the total cost is about $9.44 million. Anticipated WIA grant from EFC is about $3 million, and then the total cost to be bonded would be $6.44 million. This results in a benefit assessment. A benefit assessment is basically a distribution of the payments, the annualized payments over a 30-year bonding period. It's the distribution of those payments to the individual residential and commercial properties throughout the district. So that in turn creates what's called a benefit assessment. So the basic single benefit assessment would be equivalent for a single family home, and then commercial properties are comparably established based on assessed value and other things associated with the commercial properties for what their benefit assessment would be. And that'll all be laid out in a map plan report once everything is solidified. And then the water use for a single family home is estimated about $250. So the total cost to a single family residence would be about $955. For purposes of comparison, the New York State Audit and Control prepares what they call an average assessed value or an average cost estimate for similar projects, water projects in New York State, and that is for the 2022 calendar year. That number is established at $989. So we're about $30 below that $989, which is important because if you exceed that audit and control number, it becomes a requirement of the town to then justify to the state why that would be considered to be an affordable water district. So that, just pointing that out. Once the town accepts the modified map plan and report as proposed, then a final map plan and report, or accepts the concept, I should say. Once this concept is accepted and the town board agrees that this is what they would like to look at, then we'll prepare a map plan and report to identify all those costs in a document. That document would then be accepted by the town board and then circulated and to the community for community support. So the idea is it would be subject to a permissive referendum or a petition. And I think the town board has kind of indicated that they would like to go the petition route in other words, get out to the people that will be in the water district and get their buy-in so that everything is communicated positively forward as opposed to reactively. And then once that's done, they'll also go through the seeker. Once seeker is complete, then the district can be formed. The actual funding, even though there's been some pre-application that goes in to get the town on the funding, what's called the intended use plan for the state, until the water district is created, they can't actually finalize that application. So once the water district is created, the application can be finalized for the $3 million WIA grant. Once they close on funding, then we can move to design and permitting and then construction. So
Excellent.
that's,
Thank you.
all lays that out.
What would the water tank look like, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I do have a yep, there it is right there. So the water storage tank, it can come in different colors. We're gonna kind of look at the terrain because I believe that the most likely backdrop is going to be green. I don't think if you're up at Rettle Park, I think uphill from Rettle Park continues to go uphill. So I think if you're down in the West Road School area looking up at the tank, you're really going to be looking at the backdrop of trees. So it's most likely that you'd go with the green tank, but that, that the selection of the color is something that would come a little later. Be about a 100-foot tall tank, which that allows for the domestic storage, which is at a little higher water pressure, is stored basically at the top of the tank. But then in a fire flow condition, you're allowed to drop that pressure, which then gives that additional storage in the tank available for firefighting purposes.
Looks like a silo.
So, and that tank there that they sent me a picture of is between 100 and 110 foot, but it's relatively what you'd be looking at.
If anybody wants a copy.
And they're also, I've given copy to the town clerk, so the town clerk has those. So if anybody wants to, come in, she would have that on file as well.
I only have one copy, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Are we allowed to ask questions?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Just because I've heard multiple renditions of buying water from Poughkeepsie, putting wells in, I see a storage tank now. With this plan, I'm guessing we're not, I don't see anything in Field 2. Are we putting a well up in Rettle Park at the storage tank?
So this is kind of leads into something that I've asked John about in terms of we need to keep our options open but make them smart. Like this is the area that I think we've heard that has the most problematic water throughout the town. This is the areas we need to service. So the next step would be to figure out, do we connect off of Van Wagner because there's town of Poughkeepsie water over there on Van Wagner Road? We could dig, potentially see what the cost is to dig somewhere, but I think it leaves the options open. But this, I think, needed to be the area that needs to be serviced.
So the cost that you have here of $955, is that with us buying water? I mean,
That's with buying water.
this is with buying water.
This is with buying water.
From town
So
of
there's no
Poughkeepsie.
there's no capital cost in this for drilling of wells.
Drilling a well and
Correct.
treating it and whatnot, so,
Correct.
okay.
But we can, at some point, if we wanted to, on another phase, maybe another board, certainly another supervisor, there's a possibility that a well can be built over behind in Field 2 and come up another way, and we can come up and catch another, and then combine them, is that correct?
Correct.
So that's one of the things I think Wappingers was very successful in doing, having
Yeah.
several sources, and then eventually combining them, having one full source. So that's what the hope is here.
Correct. And then that way, if you generate additional source capacity at well 2 area, that basically gets you across the Wappinger Creek and gives you the availability to then extend further to the east further to the east in the town or further to the west. I think you have the one big block, though, just past basically where we're showing the water district, which is kind of
Valleydale.
Central Hudson.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
So you've got quite a bit to get past Central Hudson going to the west. Going to the east, there's quite a bit of commercial and residential to be served, as well as the Traver Road School, right, which at this time would not be in that consideration.
Yeah, I like this layout better than the previous, just for the fact that I think we were putting a big burden on a section of town that really didn't need it, and this is kind of taking care of the Hamlet area. Just one last question if we're talking about the layout, was it taken into consideration doing Whiteford Drive there? Just in my mind, I'm thinking that adds another 40 parcels and potential homes. Would that lower the cost, or?
No, and the only we did look at that, and the reason why is what you get into is the length of water main for house served. Even within the small residential area where the lots are smaller on Barbara and Martin, those were kind of marginal.
Okay.
As far as being in or out. If we went to Whiteford Drive, the cost would actually go up per house served.
Okay.
Because,
Awesome.
just simply because the length of water main to the house served isn't isn't necessarily cost effective. And then on the flip side of that, a lot of the houses that are on the larger lots don't necessarily have a water issue.
Okay.
Just real quickly, while we were discussing all this, we would brought up, I remember Mary and myself, we went to the meeting with you, and we brought up Forest Valley problem, and you came up with a solution for them. So we didn't want to feel like we were leaving anyone out. We tried to, the original idea, Michael and Keith and everyone, was to get water to everybody. That was the original idea. How do we get water to everyone? And then we focused on what was the biggest problematic places, and one of them was identified as Forest Valley, correct?
Yeah, yes.
And you came up with a great solution, which was, I think, was we can offer to them or to some degree.
Yes, I'm still working on just getting some details together for the town so that the town has a package that they could hand to a resident. But I did run it by the health department. The health department said there's no issues with this being done. But the concept would simply be for those people that have water supply in Valley Dell, I understand is available and it's not necessarily an issue. I've not heard comments about water quality. The comments that I've heard are water pressure.
Yes.
And what the concept would be is to just put a small booster pump in the house that would then basically pressurize a small pressure tank, just like if anybody's on a well, you have a pump and then it goes into a pressure tank. You have the same setup in the house, and then that then provides you with the pressure within that house, and it doesn't necessarily tax the water system as a whole, because you're talking about a single house with a 3/4 inch water main, or a 3/4 inch water service. So it doesn't create an issue, and the health department said there's nothing that would be preventative for homeowners to do that. So that would be something that would solve the problem for those people within that neighborhood that have water pressure issues. They could take that and address it within their house. And I'm also a town engineer in another town where we had the same thing, and that's what some of the houses did, is they just put in a small pressure tank and a pump. And it's fairly inexpensive, because you're talking about a pump no different from like a pool pump that just sits in the basement, and it basically draws off of the water main, pressurizes the pressure tank, and then shuts off. Yeah. So.
Excellent. All right.
Yes.
And any other questions for Greg on the water issue? I think we can, I know the agenda says we have it right there. We can go right to the town hall at this
Yes.
point.
So the town hall, we've been working on looking at the concept plan. So I had developed, and this is a very early stage concept plan. So the idea is I wanted to get it to the town board just so that they have something to look at. And then the next step would be to then meet with the department heads, go over this plan as to how the offices are laid out, to try to get that. We looked into the downstairs, which previously had not really been evaluated as far as layout. So we moved all the court facilities downstairs. We increased the size of the courtroom based on input from the town as to the number of people that are in court. And then we also looked at creating a community room in the downstairs area that would be the meeting hall. And we felt like two reasons that works out well is most of the parking in that plaza is available to the downstairs. So for large meetings or for court, to have that all downstairs makes more sense than to have that upstairs, where people would then have to come in and go upstairs or be limited to the amount of parking in the rear of that building. So the rear of the building would be more dedicated to parking for town staff, as well as parking for people that need to come in to get a dog license or a building permit or whatnot. They would still have availability to come park upstairs, but you're not talking about a large group of people coming in at a single time. They're generally coming and going throughout the day. So, and then on the upstairs, we would have all of the town offices, have a small or, a couple of different meeting rooms, so that there could be some meetings, or gatherings or rec or something like that. I know that this room is used for a number of different activities that could be utilized in the upstairs area or in the downstairs area. And they would basically, there would be stairs and an elevator between the 2 floors, but the idea would be to limit the necessity for people having to go up and down the stairs. So having everything either upstairs, having all the court and meeting room downstairs, then kind of limits that up and down access requirement. So again, just kind of going through a little bit of schedule-wise, this is kind of the initial concept. We'd spend probably 4 to 6 weeks getting with the different town department heads and the judges to make sure that they agree with this concept of how things are laid out with the access between the court and the judges' chambers. We do have staff in our company. Maria Mazurik, who's been working on this as the architect, does have experience with working with the Office of Court Administration. So we do understand those rules and regulations, but in general, a lot of them are also somewhat to the discretion of the judge. So that's why it's important to get the buy-in of the judges, the current judges, even though eventually it will then go to the Office of Court Administration for a final sign-off on what is being built. So we'd first get that input from the various department heads, and then once we get that input, we'd come back to this board with a similar presentation as we did with the water, of this is the concept plan. If everybody's in agreement that that looks acceptable, then we would prepare CAD drawings of the concept plan. So we would prepare the concept plan, layout, and also update the cost estimate and look at generating a schedule for the town for consideration. So that would be basically the deliverable at that point. And then the other thing that we talked about in the meantime, if the town has expressed the desire to try to get some work going on at that existing town hall. So generally speaking, all of the infrastructure, walls, bathrooms, everything on the lower level is going to be gone. We do need to do asbestos survey. We don't expect, based on the age of the building, to have asbestos. However, due to trade with other countries, asbestos sheetrock, even though it's not generated and not created here in the United States, it's not prohibited in other countries. So if sheetrock were purchased from Canada, it could potentially have asbestos in it. So it does have to at least be evaluated. Right. So we would have a company come in, because you don't want to have the contractor in the middle of doing the work and you find out you got asbestos and then it just shuts everything down. So that's, and so we could probably get something together as far as getting, I need to get authorization from the town to hire an asbestos survey company. I'll get some prices on that and get that back to the town. And then once that information comes in, 4 to 6 weeks, we can put together basically a bid package or an RFP that the town could send out and get quotes from contractors to basically do the demo. I wouldn't expect it to be a lot of money, assuming there's no asbestos. Knock on wood. Yeah. But
Okay.
again, based on the age of the building, it's not
Highly-
anticipated,
it's not
but
anticipated.
it needs to be
Right.
confirmed.
Okay. Greg, thank you very much. Anyone have any questions? I'm sorry.
Yeah, just before you go, Greg, good job on, I just want to say a lot of work has been putting in this since the last time I was informed and brought into this, so good job to you and Mary. And,
Keith was on this one,
oh, yeah,
Mary was
Keith,
on the
yeah,
water.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Water and Keith. Good job. Just a couple questions about, comparing it to the water one, is basically the next 4 to 6 weeks, you would be meeting with the department heads, and then when you come back, Would you have a cost estimate for us at that point of how much we're looking at to do all of this? Or, because that's what we have with the water one.
Right.
Is that the plan, or do we have to wait further down the line to know approximately what we're looking at?
What we were first looking at is basically the cost estimate. We could probably generate something, but what we're really hoping to do is first get the town to basically say, this concept plan is what works, and then we would do a cost estimate for that plan.
Okay.
So based on the size of the courtroom, because the courtroom costs are going to be different than office space costs. Most of the second floor office space is going to simply be, there may be a few wall changes, but it's primarily just going to be replacing carpet, repainting, basic, few things like that. I don't know if I'd have to look at like windows, whether or not new windows should go in. There'll be some things such as that, but we can, if that's something that the town wants, I can put together at least a square foot type of cost when I come back, but.
Well, I'm just thinking 4 to 6 weeks worth of work is quite an investment, I'd imagine, from the town's part. So I just want to make sure that, as a resident brought up about a month and a half ago, I don't know, have we made a decision that this is definitely what we want to do as a board? And this, I
think
get,
we
is a
did.
conversation outside of Greg, but,
I thought we did that already. We did that.
have we? I don't know. I wasn't part of a decision that we're definitely
Well,
doing.
I believe one of our residents brought it up. Did you guys even make that decision? And then we brought it up again, and it was really, the options are,
Well, I just want to make sure that we're really thinking that that we're all on the same page. And I'm not saying I'm against this, but I haven't been a part of a conversation that said we're definitely moving into this building and that we're okay spending whatever it is to have.
could have sworn we were all here for that.
Well, so I guess
Are we all on the same page is because this is going to cost the residents money to do this, and I don't want us now 6 weeks down the road with a big check that we have to
Right,
write.
understandable, but I
And somebody's
believe we
against it.
had that discussion, believe it or not.
I don't necessarily know if we ever definitively said we're gonna do X over Y or Y over Z. What I will say is this, for knowing what that building is and looking at this plan, I think this is a fantastic use of that building. I will say that. I just don't know, I've long just thought of like, if we consolidated town properties and either rehabbed or built on a land we already own besides this, but this is, I don't know, this is a great use of the building.
Yeah, I like the layout and I like this idea, but a perfect example is we're not on the same page. It doesn't sound like we've all come to an agreement that this is definitely what I want to do. And what you said, the town wants to move
Well, so-
ahead fast with getting things going. Again, I haven't been a part of a conversation that I know of that said we wanted to start working on this and start demoing. So I just want to make sure that before we start spending money and again, I'm not trying to stop things. I just want to make sure that before we pull the trigger on this, we're all ready to do this. And I'm okay with it.
Well, I
But I
believe
just
at some point, we all identified the two biggest problems that we have been faced with is, one, water. I believe we've all agreed that this town needs water more than anything else.
Oh, no, I'm not.
I have no problem
I
with
know,
that.
I know I was in that
I think we're all on the
conversation.
same page on the
Okay.
first one. It's
So,
just-
and then we all agreed that there was no other places, and we couldn't sell the building, we couldn't do anything else with the building, we bought the building. And at some point, I remember us all, this group, not the other groups that I've been involved in, had said, yeah, this is the way we probably have to go. So,
And
based
just-
on that,
And I'm sorry, just to step back a little bit. The 4 to 6 weeks is more of a timing issue because we're gonna have to have some time to get together
Yeah.
with the different department heads, the judges. Their time, we're not sure exactly what their availability is. And then once we get their input and put it down on on a concept plan, then to meet with the committee again, get any feedback or input on that, and then have a hand draft or a hand drawn up sketch like this, then to present back to the board. The 4 to 6 weeks basically targets either being able to come back to the workshop next month or the main meeting next month to have a presentation to the
Yeah,
board.
and I totally agree. I like the process and everything. I just want to make sure that I would feel personally a lot more comfortable knowing at some point what we're guesstimating or estimating for this to total, because this is going to cost a lot of money.
Yes.
And before we start dumping a ton of money into this, I want to make sure that the five of us are not, there's not somebody considering potentially something else. And just that we're doing the right thing by the residents and making sure that, that we know what we're getting into. Because if this is going to cost us $10 million all of a sudden, I personally would like to know that before we dump $100,000 into this. And, you know, I just want to make sure we're cautious, because this, we saw with the library renovating a building, you get into a lot of stuff that you don't expect you're going to get into, and I want to make sure we're all prepared and all on the same page. And I might have just been sleeping, but I don't remember us.
Well, what I'll do is,
So I just want to make sure.
with that 4 to 6 weeks, I'll put into that preparing a preliminary cost estimate based on that concept plan.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
And then once we get into some of the more detail, then we can, you know, fine tune that. But generally speaking, a lot of it at this point is going to be a square foot cost. So it's not,
Yeah.
going to be significantly off.
Just a ballpark.
It's just a ballpark.
Yeah.
Because we do have estimating documents that you can estimate based on a court facility. You can get estimates similar to what I was saying for water costs. You can get similar estimates for what a general courtroom building costs per square foot.
Okay. Well, thank you, Greg.
And just so you know, just to know where the department heads received a copy of this all this morning.
Okay.
At our department head meeting, so they were all kind of versed on it already. The only people who have not seen it has been the court. They have to, they're not on department head meetings.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Could you just repeat at what stage you do the asbestos check? I mean, 'cause that's really.
Prior to the demo.
Okay.
So prior to the demo, we would have to do the asbestos check. And again, based on the timing that I mentioned, we wouldn't be doing the demo until we have that meeting to basically agree on or approve that concept plan. So we might try to do a little bit of legwork, like do the asbestos, because you're going to have to do that really one way or the other. But we may do that if the town authorizes that. And maybe that can be something at the next town board meeting. If the town authorizes that, then we can get a consultant to come in and do the asbestos survey to determine what asbestos. So before the next meeting, I can have a proposal from a consultant to
And I'm
do
still
that.
looking to see if there was one done.
I looked at the phase one assessment that the town did prior to purchasing it, and I contacted the person that prepared that, and they did not do an asbestos. They did more, which is generally common for a phase one, they did more of a property assessment,
Right.
not a building assessment.
Okay. Any other questions for Greg on the town hall? Greg, thank you very much. Great work once again.
Thank you.
Okay. Recreation Committee. Frank, can we just defer to Sandy or Danielle?
Sure, we're doing, actually, Danielle is doing an awful lot of work on that.
Yes, she is.
Including all of this weekend. To be ready for Wednesday, so I know John gave us some information today. And I think the biggest concern.
Can she talk into
Well,
the mic?
Danielle, would you like to go up and?
Can you go and talk into the mic, Sandy?
I think the biggest concern at this point is who's doing what? I mean, is your piece of it versus what's Danielle's piece, so you guys aren't doing the same thing twice?
So, as far as I'm concerned, I think, which was great, everybody jumped in to do this grant, which is fabulous. So I don't mind who takes the lead, who's the person who actually puts the application. I will sign to either version, or whatever work has been done, if they can be combined, or whatever needs to happen.
Well,
But
that's only one piece of it. There's a lot of different pieces that she's already done that I'm not sure what the town attorney's pieces are. So she's not doing the same work. she is and vice versa. I mean, did you send it that email or?
Yeah. Yeah, Danielle's been sending me a lot of material, so, yeah, I guess we just need to work out who's actually gonna put it into the system and submit it on Wednesday, but, yeah.
Well, I think it's gonna be you, right?
Yeah, that'd be great, if you don't
Yeah.
mind.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So,
Is that it, does that answer your questions? Okay.
so.
I don't need to get in the middle of it, I was just
Yeah,
offering
no,
to help because I
listen,
want-
it was great, and when both of you stepped up, because I have never written a grant before, I went and took a course to actually go attempt it, and then you guys jumped right in, so I was like, by all means. So whatever you need before Wednesday, let us know, and you'll have it. Okay?
We can go over it tomorrow if you want.
And then the supervisor and I have been working a lot on coming up with a schedule for all the work for the different parks, not only maintenance, but new upgrades that we're thinking of having. Do you want me to jump into my piece of tonight's meeting, or?
No,
Because-
you can come back for that.
Okay.
Just give her all a general overall of some of the things that we were working on and discussing to some degree. Mostly the problems at hand, some of the, how we're handling them, and what's going on, and what some of the ideas are for the future. I guess you can also go into some of the struggles we've had with the school. I think that's fair to reveal. I think it is. I think it certainly is. I think it's got to be frustrating for yourself to try to bend as much as you have to make things happen there.
And
And
like-
I know I was frustrated sitting in that meeting,
That was
listening
one
to.
meeting.
The one meeting, I wanted to jump through the screen. I really did, and I felt very much, I felt for you. So you can certainly explain.
Yeah, so we're at a point, I really think that what's holding up the final meeting is a memorandum of understanding. I don't think they've finalized it. So I think that's what's holding us up. The issue is the very constraints that they've put on us in terms of accessing the field. So today I can give you a little gory detail that I got a phone call at 8:30 this morning from Arlington, the gentleman who does their mowing, asking if our guys can come over because he didn't have a lift to get rid of the garbage that was overflowing. So I explained to him that if our guys left right at that moment, they probably would not be done by 9 o'clock. And they were in the middle of doing their normal daily chores. So this is just lunacy, not to be, he couldn't believe that we couldn't go there to get garbage. Couldn't believe we
So
couldn't.
basically, folks, we're not allowed to access the field after 9 a.m.
And before 3:30.
Yeah.
So our maintenance goes home at 2:30.
Specifically West Road schools, those
Right.
fields in the back. We're not allowed to access them during school hours at all.
So
We've tried to have the school add an addendum to our memorandum of understanding to have background checks on all of our maintenance guys that were down there.
Yep.
We've literally tried to bend over backwards for the school, and the school has done nothing to help us whatsoever.
It's becoming frustrating.
It has
However,
nothing to do with, it actually has nothing to do with PTA, because it doesn't have anything to do with,
But what I'm saying is, I could go there and not
All
lock the
right.
fields and have no contact.
let's keep.
Yeah,
let's-
so
let's
anyway,
keep our-
so-
Let's keep ourselves together here.
So we're
So-
hoping that we're gonna have a meeting, the supervisor, myself, and district. I'm hoping it's this week, so we can get going. The lawns, we're not gonna be able to get lawn service in the future. They're not gonna wanna put bids in.
So here's something that we all need to start thinking about. As a town, as collectively as a body, and everyone, we need to start thinking about utilizing our other fields better, making them bigger, more use, all of that, and think about different areas of where we can service our camps, our Little League, our soccer, all of our programs. So we need to start thinking in the future as if we can't be at West Road anymore. We will certainly try to buy some time on that, but until that day happens.
I'll also add that one of the reasons, or the biggest reason, that we did not do an indoor spring basketball program, shortened version, is I still have not gotten approval for Arthur S. May. So I did explain to them that I would prefer having approval before our fall program, because then we're going to be in the same boat. So that's the other issue with district.
So there's lots of frustrations on that level, but there's some good things coming down our way, too.
Right, I think they're willing to work with the dugouts and a couple of other things. But I think from a recreation point of view, that's been one of our biggest concerns, and also the work at Helen Aldridge is the other issue that we're working on. We're waiting for the town engineer to come back with some kind of a game plan. And I guess that's it. The rest I will be discussing when it's my time on the agenda, which is a little later on. But those are the two biggest concerns, the district and also the work up at Helen Aldridge.
Okay. Thank you, Sandy. Anyone have any questions for Sandy? You're good.
Thanks, Andy.
IT committee. I believe this is going to fall in that Granicus thing.
Yeah, so we're waiting, we have the RFP that we did for all the software. The video is working tonight for those watching. I came in, turned the computer on, and it worked, so whatever. So I honestly don't think we spend any more money on this system until we figure out what's gonna happen with Granicus, because they all offered a video solution, so it would just kind of supersede what we have.
And have we heard from any other companies at all to
I actually
choose
have-
from or anything?
The RFP's out. I made, yeah, I don't know if anybody else has bid on it, but
I sent it to 2 places.
we
Okay.
only had, we only had Granicus that reached out, and the other one that tried selling us software for something completely different, so,
Okay. Not our needs.
no,
Okay.
so.
So how long do we keep the RFP open for?
To the 12th.
To 12th? And we're done, okay. All right.
We may want to check when you move forward with that. The state has changed the laws about allowing people to access, allowing board members to access meetings by video conference. And so we may want to check that the company that you choose will be able to accommodate the new state laws on that.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
I'm going to put that down, state law. Conference, okay. Highway and Road Issues Committee. I'm
So
gonna
Keith, I apologize, Keith and I have not had the time to meet. With me being busy with a new job and plus everything going on in John Baxter's world, I think we should make some time though in the next month or so, Keith.
So, let me stop you,
Okay,
because I don't think you were supposed to be on that committee.
okay.
I know I didn't have you there, or was it, yeah.
No, I thought I was, but that's fine.
All right, so for some reason, somehow I got involved in it.
Okay.
And so I just thought I was on that committee, so that's fine. So I'm turning it over to Keith, because Keith's done some great work.
All right, cool.
So I'm gonna turn it over to Councilman O'Hanlon. Fill us in on where we are, what we got.
Okay, well, as many of you know, Supervisor Del Vecchio wrote a letter to whom it may concern and got copies to a lot of the right people concerning the dangerous situation at Rossway Road and the Taconic Parkway. Well, that sparked us getting a meeting set up with the Dutchess County Transportation Commission and the New York State DOT. We met down at Region 8 on April 6th, and we threw a few issues at them, 7 of them actually. And we discussed areas of concern and possible remedies as follows. Number 1, Route 44 and Rossway Road. Limited sight distance from Rossway Road turning left onto Route 44 or westbound. I'm sure any of you that have gone through there know that you take a left, if somebody is speeding, and quite often people do going westbound on 44 in that area, they're right on top of you by the time you get out onto Route 44.
what their proposal was?
So they did have two proposals they brought up, well, we brought up too. One is to install a flashing light at the intersection, which would theoretically, hopefully, slow traffic quite a bit and make people more aware of the intersection, instead of barreling down on that intersection coming westbound at 60 miles an hour. And the other was to possibly improve sight distance. I don't know how far that one will go, because that would basically mean, I guess, flattening the hill.
Yep.
So I doubt we're gonna see that one, but it is highly possible that a flashing light there is in our future. Number 2, and this is the big one, Taconic State Parkway at Rossway Road. Dangerous to cross Taconic State Parkway. Also dangerous to enter or exit Parkway from Rossway Road. Very dangerous to exit Taconic Parkway northbound, turning left onto Rossway Road during heavy afternoon and evening traffic. Now, any of you that have driven on that regularly in the afternoon coming north, if you get off there, you know there are times when you will have 3, 4, 5 cars actually in the left-hand passing lane, waiting to get onto the median to get across and onto Rossway Road. That's extremely dangerous. Now, possible remedies, long-term, an interchange is definitely needed with on and off ramps, and then an overhead crossing of the Taconic Parkway for Rossway Road. Now, we were told by DOT that funding will not be available for a project of that magnitude for several years. Short-term, they are looking at installing a flashing light at the intersection to hopefully alert motorists and slow traffic. Now, another suggestion that was brought up by Supervisor Del Vecchio, and they seem to like it, I think they're actually gonna go someplace with this, is to install a turn lane on the northbound side of the Parkway to allow motorists turning left onto Rossway Road to be out of the left lane of traffic while they're waiting to cross the median during times of heavy northbound traffic. You know, the supervisor said, what about one that's 4 or 5 cars long? All they would have to do is cut into the median. It shouldn't cost a fortune. And
They seem to like that.
yeah, they seem to like that, and no guarantees, but it looks like they're gonna go for it. I hope they do. Because during heavy afternoon traffic, more often than not, I won't even try to get off there if I'm going northbound. I go up to Route 44. It's just too scary. Number 3, Route 44 and West Road, traffic backed up during peak travel times. Lots of folks been complaining about this one the past couple of weeks.
I think I mentioned that one earlier. We took care of that. That was basically, so recently they had they had sensors replaced and adapters replaced. They get old, they start going out of sync. You add a light somewhere down the block, like at Eastdale, it affects the lights coming this way, or if you add anything onto that road, it throws something off. So that happened last year for a brief period of time, and recently there's been power outages and some different things that have made the sensors blow or go out. So they basically came back and they're fixing it again. So consequently, these sensors have to be reset. Sometimes they're not reset correctly, or they have to go through a cycle to understand our traffic pattern, and boy, oh boy, that was a lot of fun. So, but today I think it's all better now, so I think we're done with that one. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you were up on that and what they've, done these past few days, so it was better coming from you.
Number 4.
Number 4, Route 115, which is also known as Salt Point Turnpike, and West Road. Dangerous to turn left from West Road onto Route 115 due to limited sight distance. Here again, we all know this. We've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt.
It was beat around a little bit about a roundabout, but apparently that really isn't feasible there. So it seems to be agreed the best remedy would be to install a traffic signal at the intersection. And they say this could take place by 2025. Number 5. This was my own peeve. The speed limit on Route 44 west of Washington Hollow. I asked about decreasing the speed limit from 55 miles an hour to 45 miles an hour from a few hundred feet west of the Taconic State Parkway interchange on down into Washington Hollow. Right now, the speed limit doesn't drop to 45 until just before the mobile station. Now, you've got people on and off the Parkway. It gets a little hairy there at times at that interchange, people coming off the Parkway on the 44. And we have the businesses now on the east side of the Parkway. You've got the gas station, you've got Reardon Briggs, you've got Williams Lumber, you've got an awful lot more of in and out traffic there than you used to. And I don't know about you folks, but I've heard and seen quite a few tires locking up and people trying to veer around, people pulling out. I've seen some hairy stuff there, and I understand there's been a few accidents. So the remedy there is we can, because it's a state road, we can submit a Form TE9A directly to New York State DOT requesting a traffic study to see if the speed limit reduction would be beneficial. So we're gonna give that a shot and see where it goes.
Okay.
Number 6, intersection of North Avenue and Route 44, and this is one that the supervisor brought up. When you have a heavy truck turning right from Route 44 westbound onto North Avenue, and we have a lot of them, big dump trucks, 18-wheelers with dump trailers. Well, there often isn't room for the truck to negotiate the right-hand turn due to vehicles in the southbound left turn lane at the stoplight on North Avenue. They're right up to the light, and the trucker doesn't have the room to swing out and back in and make the right-hand turn safely. There are cars in the way. So the remedy there, as suggested by Supervisor Del Vecchio, was to just move the stop line on North Avenue southbound back from the stoplight at least one more car length. This will give the large trucks enough room to negotiate the right turn and make the swing off of 44 onto North Avenue, and maybe the fender benders there will stop, God willing. And the DCTC and the DOT are considering this option. That one's not real expensive, so I think we'll actually get away with that one. And last but not least, number 7, paving of Route 44 from the bridge into Hamlet west to the town of Poughkeepsie. DOT has indicated that work will start either in the fall of 2022 or the spring of 2023. Yes, folks, it's going to happen.
Just a couple of things on top of that. Some of these intersections that were mentioned, and I'm sorry to say this to a lot of you folks who've made many complaints and many observations and suggestions and phone calls that someone is going to get hurt and someone's going to get killed. The sick part of a lot of their answers were, that's what they wait for, to make that determination as to whether or not an intersection is that dangerous to go through. It's sad to say, but they look at it that way. And that answer makes me sick, because it's a terrible answer, but they do. And that's how they make their determination as to what goes next. The other determination is when you scream the loudest. So we're starting to scream. Nobody has screamed in quite some time. The last thing they heard from us was, do not pave 44 because we're bringing water into the town and we're gonna dig it all up anyway. They haven't heard from us since, so they go about their business if we're quiet. And much to the credit of most of you folks who drive in this town, you're able to drive and negotiate a lot of these horrible turns and intersections and the speeders, and no one seems to get hurt. So because no one's getting hurt, and we're not yelling here on our end, we've been non-existent to them, so they've gone ahead with their plans. And one of the things in my letter was basically the same, was that we're sitting here watching you fix all these other projects all through Dutchess County, and everyone's getting all the stuff that's coming out of Pleasant Valley. It's kind of like having the ice cream truck go through our neighborhood and not stopping. You know, none of our projects get done. So it was an eye-opener for them. So some good work with Keith there, and we're back on the board, let's put it that way. So,
If you want to follow up with them, they have something called the TIP. I don't know if you're familiar with
the
that.
tip was there.
Yeah.
They were
and-
there.
Well, there's a spreadsheet of all the projects that they
Yeah.
have programmed and exactly what year they're gonna design and build, et cetera. So make sure your stuff gets on there.
Well, that's just it. And that's the group that's actually determined what comes next, and they
Right,
give you out,
exactly.
and I looked at it, there's nothing
Right.
that said
I just
Pleasant
searched
Valley.
Pleasant Valley on the TIP, and there isn't.
Yeah, actually, Chris Cordisco, who's been the big spearhead on
Right.
the Parkway interchange, he actually sent me in an email the most current tip, the
Yeah.
spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And I
We're
looked
not
it
there.
over,
If
and
you're not on
we
it,
ain't on
they're
there.
not gonna do it, so,
Right.
but they can get you on there and move money around.
And they
so,
seem like
yeah.
they're really looking to do that, so
Yeah.
now that we're, making noise, so that's good. Any questions for Keith or myself as far as that goes?
No, thank you, guys.
Was eye-opening, to say the least. So the Finance Committee,
Yeah, so.
how we doing?
We're doing good.
We're gonna need you very shortly,
Oh, I
you know
know.
that.
So Mary and I have been meeting, and there's a couple things that we're working on. The first one was the ARPA money that we received. We were given money, and it's only allocated for certain things, and we have, I think, 4 or 5 years to end up spending it. So we're working on that. Also, we talked about this a little bit, is one of the first things that we think is really important is understanding what money we actually have. We have so many different accounts and money allocated for certain projects that we're setting up a meeting with our bookkeeper to sit down and really understand, okay, this account's specifically set aside for this project, and that part of it will allow us to come back to the board and really say, listen, like, we have an account for this project, let's make a plan to actually execute that, because
Project.
there's probably a lot of money sitting in projects that we might not even know about. And then the second part of that is money sitting in fund balances and stuff like that, to just basically get a total of what we have that's not allocated in our yearly budgets and that's not allocated towards special projects. Because we're gonna have to start, especially with budget for the following year coming up, we're gonna have to figure out where we wanna allocate some of that, and if there's other things we wanna potentially start reinvesting in the community. And I know we talked that, and this came from you, was that our plan is to maybe reach out to each department head, kind of get a feel of things that they've maybe put off.
It's done this morning.
Oh, it's done? So we're waiting for feedback from them to kind of get a list of things that they've potentially put on the back burner that might end up costing us even more money if we keep putting it off. Anything else that you'd like to add? No? So,
Excellent. And the only other thing I would charge you guys with, I don't mean to just put you out there right here, but
Yeah.
coming forth with water and possibly, the building and all that stuff, what projects might be the better project to bond if we're going that route, what we should use where, and that kind of thing.
yeah, and I think we'll have a better understanding after we sit down and really know where the money is and what it's,
Okay.
what we have, because right now it's kind of it's all over the place, so.
Okay, excellent. Public safety, I can report on this one so far, which is one of my pet peeves, is safety. When I first walked in here, I noticed there was a bunch of things that did not happen, like drills, fire drills, and CPR drills, and we just recently had our active shooter and AED drill. Mary Beth was a big help Friday, helping organize. We closed Town Hall this Friday for all of our trainings, which was great, and everybody was certified in, not everybody, but certain people were certified in CPR. And we've got a few more things coming up as far as safety. We've lit up the outside of the building, as a lot of you already noticed. We have cameras coming when, Mary Beth, you think, you said?
Waiting for them to come in.
All right.
But the cable is, so they're working on running the cable.
Right, so we're almost there with our security cameras around this building. So we're getting there as far as safety and security. That doesn't mean public safety is left out. First, I wanted to secure Town Hall, and then we start working around where all the safety issues are around town. For instance, recently, we went up to the mill site, and the tree limbs that were hanging over the gazebo were extremely dangerous, even for those of the folks who visit there late at night for nefarious activities. It's not safe for them either. And thanks to Mr. Veeder and Terry McCormick also came out. We did that on Earth Day, I think. We went over there and we got rid of a lot of the brush and a lot of that stuff and got it cleaned up and took that branch down, and as well as others. So we're going to go around each park, each place, each gathering area, and find out where we're not safe. So that's going to be part of our list to our finance committee as well. All right. That brings us to infrastructure committee, which I guess will.
So we did talk.
Yeah.
Even though we didn't really know what we were doing, because we were kind of waiting for all the other projects and stuff. But one thing, if it's good with you guys, is we thought infrastructure, I had stumbled across something that past Supervisor Figliozzi kind of put together, which was kind of a blueprint of stuff that has a useful life and planning for it to have to replace it. So I don't know if we have a legit capital plan that we're following, but I think we believe that we probably should start inventorying stuff that needs to be replaced and planning out, okay, if it has a useful life of 30 years, well, we should probably know where we're getting the funding for it in 25. To give you a good example is the fuel depot.
Yep.
I mean, those kind of things, we really need to make sure that doesn't happen, and we get ahead of that stuff to save the taxpayers' money. So if you guys are good with that, we want to kind of take that on.
Absolutely.
It's going to take a little bit of time, but
I think if I remember correctly, the trucks, he had a thing with Butch Gardner, both Mark and Butch had figured out a way to sell trucks and buy a new truck, and it was an overlapping thing that was going to cost way less in the long run if they did that while the old truck still had value.
yeah.
And it was better. And I think the same thing coming up with the computers. I think they're all going to be doing the same thing. I think the computers are going to be updated as well.
Yeah. I mean, the computers here were recently replaced, what was it, 2019? Or just prior, so end of 2018. If you think about their usefulness and their longevity, we're probably, I would say, 2 years away from having to replace a large portion of them.
3 at the end of this year.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, 3
So
this year, I'm
it's
sure.
closer than you think.
Yep.
Okay, those are all the subcommittee reports, and I want to thank everybody. Everyone did a really great job. Mary, it's been wonderful working with you on the water. I think it's a lot of fun, and the quiche is nice, right? We get quiche. And while we haven't really worked a lot with myself and the other, Frank and Michael, we have been in correspondence, and Keith, excellent work the other day with the DOT. So it's been good working relationship. We're going to keep it that way.
Before you move to open the.
Okay.
Can I just make a motion to amend the agenda?
What do you got?
I just want to add an item under new business discussions. I want to add item 6, and it's just a discussion. You can title it Tires Transfer Station.
Tires Transfer Station. Yes, John just mentioned that this morning.
I just need a second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
No problem.
In regards to the rates of tire disposal is what I think Mike's hinting at.
Rates, yes.
Yeah, tire disposal rates at the transfer station. is
Just
what
so
it
if somebody wants to talk about it during public portion. of the-
Okay. So I move that we open the meeting up to the public for agenda items only.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good evening, Phil Apicino, Ravine Road. First question I have, Councilman O'Hanlon, regarding the large trucks coming down North Avenue heading east that want to turn onto North Avenue. What I've observed is there's 2 lanes there. There's a lane that goes left into the plaza with a turn signal that goes into the Retto Plaza. And then there's a lane that goes straight, or you can take a right there to go into on North Avenue. What happens, those large trucks, it's impossible for them to be in the straight lane that goes straight or right and make that turn. So what they do is they swerve over into the left-only lane, and they've been ticketed for doing that, and that's how they make that turn. So I don't think it's as easy as just moving a stop thing back. You'd have to do away with the left turn lane.
You're talking going a different direction.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
You're talking going a different direction.
I'm talking if the truck is westbound on 44 and will be taking a right onto North Avenue.
Yes,
And
yes,
when the
westbound,
cars-
I'm sorry,
when
yes,
the cars are
yes.
right up to the stoplight in the left turn lane to turn left on the 44, there's not room for the truck to complete the swing. That's why we want to.
Oh, so you're talking about moving that back
Yes,
further
moving the
towards the
stop
plaza?
line back about
And you
a
think
car
that will
length.
give them enough?
That gives them
Okay.
enough that they're,
So you're not going to affect that lane turning left into the Retto Plaza?
no.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. Questions on the water. If negotiations don't seem to move the way we want them to purchase our water from the town of Poughkeepsie, years ago, there was a study done, there were test wells actually put in Bower Park, not in the soccer fields or beyond that towards the Great Spring Creek. And that sits over an aquifer, and there was quite a bit of study done. I have the documents on it. So just keep that in mind if that's something that you feel the town may want to look at later. The other thing with this map, I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate, because as you're going down North Avenue, the red area that's going to be in the water district, then you have Bower Park. Well, Bower Park, or Bower Hill, is an apartment complex that's not being shown there. So if you did take water out of Bower Park, you know, if your central system was in Bower Park, you'd have that apartment complex you could pick up. And my other question is why we're not picking up the apartment complexes coming down North Avenue. That helps take the burden off a lot of the residents. But again, I just want to point out the fact that we do have, you know, a water source there. And then you have one of the highest elevations is a hill just behind Bower Park. And there's a utility line easement that takes you right over to Mountain Drive and Stream Lane. They took the power lines down, but the easement's still there. And if you drive on Mountain Drive, between 2 houses, you'll see a larger space, and that's a power line easement that you could actually bring water right over to where the bridge is. That's what I had on the water, and just one quick
Okay.
question. There was an engineering report done by Casey Engineering back in April 27th of 2018. It was 67 pages, 67-page report. And I remember reading that report, and I think this is now doing this again, I think we're in our 3rd time that we're actually going to look at the renovation costs. This engineering report, I remember seeing floor plans, and there was some environmental work done that you may want to look into. Maybe we can save some money. This was 4 years ago, and the cost to renovate that building 4 years ago was $2,689,919.
I'm familiar with the report.
Excuse me?
I am familiar with the report.
Okay. And just a thought, you know, like Mr. Reifenberg, Councilman Reifenberg was saying, if our costs seem to come in, you know, where it's cheaper to build a new building or as effective to build a new building than it is to renovate that building, I think you got to consider it. You're not going to have central water where the new town hall is that we purchased. West Road, you will, according to this plan. So at least you'll get a water system and you'll get a sprinkler system in a new building if you decided to build at Bower Park. I'm not saying I'm against renovating that building. I just like to see it come in. You know, if you're going to spend money on your home, you're going to go for the best price, and I think we have to look out and see what the costs are going to be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil.
Anyone else?
Gary Veter, Salt Point Turnpike, Pleasant Valley. I'm sorry the engineer left because I think I would have liked to thank him for a very good report and a lot better than we've seen on a lot of areas. Water. Does it have to be, the tank have to be that high? That would have been one question. Or when the lower round ones, you don't get enough pressure. If it has to be that high, can you put a cell tower up there and get some income?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I got a number of things that are kind of here or there and everywhere.
Well, just let me just really quickly address the tower. So that's just what the tower would look like. As far as the height goes, it doesn't necessarily have to be that high because the height of the land spot. The higher you go in the elevation of where you are, the less high the tower would be. So there was one spot that I think was actually looked at, what was it? Somewhere plateau, right? And I think that would have been like the tank would have been maybe no higher than 8 feet tall or something like that. It was gonna be more of a round, flat thing.
They are, to me, a lot more acceptable than, but if you put a big one up there, you write Pleasant Valley on
Hey,
it.
welcome to Pleasant Valley, put some satellite stuff on, whatever.
Pardon me?
Let's not bring any more attention.
Okay, Taconic and Route 44, you're traveling west. You're coming down off of a 2-lane road, and you get to where the Taconic is, and you get 4 lanes, at least 2 going west. There's no markings on that road. Now, if I'm sitting, waiting to come off the Parkway to go to Williams, which I do often, I don't know whether that person in that right lane is going straight or turning. A simple solution would be to get there's no markings there that are visible. I think there were some. Put right turn only on that right lane. Because then
So you
people.
want to make it into a turn lane instead of a through lane?
Yes.
The right-hand lane?
Because it really isn't a 4-lane road at that point because it ends within 100 feet. So just put right turn only and we know, and that's what a lot of people do, except people that don't understand the area.
Right.
Okay. You added a thing for tire rates. With a tire rate you charge at the compactor, it's a wonder you don't see more on the side of the road. What I would like to see from the engineer with his report is, what's it gonna cost a family that doesn't hook up the water? If it comes before them, how much will it cost, even if they don't use it?
Well, I just think you then just don't bill the water cost, so it would be the $705. So it still costs, right? Am I reading that correctly? Like, the same, yeah, the cost per household stays the same, you're just not buying water at that point.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
If you're in the water district.
If you live in the water district.
Yeah.
If you're outside the water district, it's not.
Oh, no, I understand that.
And for the most part, the people that are in that water district really need the water.
Oh, yeah, understand.
Yeah, they really need it.
But for the poor guy that doesn't. The town hall building, I think he gave a good report on that too. I've heard this going on. I'm really getting tired of hearing it. Councilman Reifenberg brought up, this has been discussed at meetings many times and there has been no opposition. I don't mind bringing up that maybe you should have an official thing here, but it's time to do something. It really is time to do something. And the something does not include an architect's fancy design. I want a square building with simple things. That's not, it doesn't have to be somebody that can put a plaque on it and they're happy with it. I think I did it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Gary.
Anyone else? What, you guys choosing it out back there? Who's going to go up first? Rock, scissors, paper?
Kathy Kruger, Pleasant Valley, Rawls Road. I have a question about the possible new building. Are you going to have an elevator in that building?
There is a place in the plan of, you didn't get to see it, he didn't put it up on there, it was too big.
I didn't have a copy
Yeah,
of it.
it's too
Oh.
big. But in the center, there would be staircase, and right in according with the staircase, there'll be a lift going up inside.
Does it have an elevator already?
No.
No,
I don't,
Okay.
no, it
That's what I
doesn't.
thought
That's
you
what
were-
I was wondering, yeah,
no, there is
because
no elevator.
elevators are not only expensive to put in, but they're damn expensive to have checked every month, too.
Yes, they are, and what we're probably gonna go for, because the elevator, while we're, definitely have to have one, we don't have to have one that is, I don't know, very fancy. We can go with more of a agricultural rural style type with the gate, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to be one of those
Yeah.
fancy ones. And it's more so, believe it or not, for handicap, which, even in this case, you can enter the upstairs of the building probably better with a handicap accessible ramp that's coming in from that part of the building.
Right.
So very rare that to be somebody having to go downstairs if they needed something upstairs from one of the offices, or if we're in a meeting room or court, they would not have to go upstairs at all. So it wouldn't even be for a handicap accessible, more for deliveries. Like if we need to get paper deliveries to be brought upstairs, they could probably go around back and deliver it that way. Or if it's something that needs to come up, if it's easier to come through the front. But we have to have one.
Okay. Even though you have level
Yeah,
space.
have to have it.
But how come it didn't have to have it before then? Is it just a new code or something?
It always did. It always did, and we actually, there was at one point, there was a grant that the town was awarded for a lift. That the county, because of COVID, the county recapped
Well, you
the
mean,
money.
well, was your question?
Well, originally the
did
building-
the building always needed when it was a
It didn't
private
have,
building?
yeah, it didn't have a,
No.
yeah, so how'd they get away with it?
Because they're all individual storefronts, like you would never go from one storefront
Oh.
to another
Right.
portion of the building.
Okay,
You're still not gonna do that. The way this building is
Yeah,
designed, you're not
still.
gonna have to go, like, if you go to court, you can come in through the front, downstairs in the bottom, and there's no reason for you to be in the rest of the building. None. And that was what the nice part about the way the design was. You can cut that off. If you come to a meeting room like this, anyone who's gonna go up to the offices for anything would probably be the town clerk or myself or a council person to run up to get something from an office for the meeting room. Everything else is upstairs in offices, so
Yeah.
you just enter through there. So, yeah, it's just by law.
okay. What about the food pantry? Is that gonna be a possibility to have that there? Because I know right now they're not worried about the building being sold,
Right.
but I heard that their insurance is like sky high.
So
and-
that's still in discussion where we can go with that. There's different ideas now. There's been a whole bunch of different things been brought to our attention, so we're working on it. It's not forgotten,
Okay, don't forget the food
not
pantry.
forgotten at all.
My next question is what's going on with the Arlington School District? Why are they being so difficult, I guess?
Go ahead, Frank.
So I sat through a couple meetings
I
on
mean,
this
I don't know,
It's all
you
yours.
Yeah,
you
no.
guys brought it up, I didn't.
No,
so I was
you're right,
just-
you're right. No, so,
I'm asking.
we brought it up because, so the memorandum of understanding expired at the end of last year. And we had to sit through the meetings to create a new one. And basically, the memorandum of understanding just gives the town use of West Road properties when school's not in session, let's say. So I knew that there was some frustrations coming from the rec department because the lawn guys couldn't get there or couldn't be on the premise during certain hours. And so Sandy and I had originally sat down with what I call the SBS guys from Arlington, the building services guys who kind of handle this and they schedule all this. And they had originally been amicable to, kind of figuring out the scheduling for the students. That way, if like we knew on a Tuesday or a Thursday, let's say that recess doesn't start till 10, well, our guys can actually be there till 9:30 or 9:45, right? As long as we do, appease the background check portion. And apparently, so right after that happened, the supervisor took over in the meetings and they said no. Because there's a new
The
principal
new
now.
principal?
There's a new principal now.
Oh, because I loved the old one. She was
So,
just,
yeah, so then I step in.
yeah.
And I just kept my mouth shut because this is new to me. And I heard how much they changed all of their things and made it worse from when Frank and Sandy had originally spoke with them. So I left that meeting spitting bullets. I mean, I was
Yeah,
angry.
I remember.
I was kicking and screaming.
He called me.
I'm like, you've got to be kidding.
You sat through that?
I was ready, honestly, to just go buy a bulldozer, make fields everywhere, and just say, we're not gonna use them again. That's how angry I was. But there's things we have to discuss, we have to still go back, and we have to, have
Nice.
an MOU with them, we have to, we have programs, we've got soccer coming up, we got baseball, we got Little League, we got all kinds of things happening, so we have to make this work, and we will. But I will say, knowing a few things that I know, coming down the pike with the school district, we need to start thinking about being independent.
That was the first, when we first met, that was what I said to them, like, do we need to go down the road? Does Pleasant Valley need to start, like, looking at their own independence? Well, no, I think we can come to an agreement, and clearly we can't, so, yeah, we need to look at our own independence.
They've changed, not us,
Oh, yeah.
not us.
Okay. Yeah.
Also hinted at upcoming, not concerns or plans that the district might have for West Road. I mean, there was a little.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, so, because it was, when I asked him originally, I was like, what is the district's plan for that portion of, that they never seem to use, that we have to maintain? Why wouldn't, it connects to a park that we own, why would you not then figure out a sale price and us figure that portion out, right? That was my original, like, the school doesn't use it. My son went to school there and never used that portion of the field, ever. So I said to them, why keep it? Why would you keep it? Why not the town? Then it's off tax rolls regardless of who owns it at that point. It connects to our parks. So like what, then we have use to maintain it ourselves. That was a flat out no, because if the town's not gonna use it, then Arlington will find another use for that plot of land, is what they said to us.
After
They
all
have
these
plans.
years.
They have
They have plans.
And we're not in it.
They have
Yep,
plans.
we're not in it.
However, I will give you a little bit of a hint of good news, and I'm not gonna say it all, Sandy, you're the only person that knows, and you better not. There is good news coming down the road,
That's good.
so,
Okay.
to answer our problems.
Sorry, I don't know. Are we doing this 3-minute thing? No? Okay, okay. Next question. Thanks for cleaning up the gazebo. You did it on the same day we had our stuff the bus, but we would have been there.
Sorry.
Because we,
Had to be done.
Rotary put that gazebo in because Penny Hickman asked us to, so it's nice to have it, there. Next question is, or suggestion. We drive around Pennsylvania a lot because that's where our grandchildren are, and I can't tell you how many times we saw beautiful boards up just listing all the community events that are going on. I wish to God our town hall could do the same thing to list all the community events going on like they have over at the fire station. And just as a suggestion, I hear now we have letters. I was here on Friday. I wanted to pay my dog license, and I knew the transfer station wasn't going to be open until 1:30, but I did not know that the town hall was going to be closed. I didn't find anywhere on Facebook where it said that, or,
So we did put
and
it-
I'm not always on the website because I don't want to talk about the website, but,
So
just,
we did put
just
it out
saying.
on all the media sites, we put it
Oh.
out everywhere we needed to put it out. We would love to have a sign, just like the fire department has,
Yeah,
but we're not gonna spend that here right now, especially if we're gonna go to a new building. So
Okay.
if we were to stay here, I would say that would be one of the things we'd get.
yeah, but, and then the next thing, when you're talking about
That'll happen, yeah.
the speeding, get some water.
Excuse, can I go get some water?
Yeah, I'll let you, because I can ask Keith about this. When you're talking about all the roads and this and that and the other, Traver Road, it just seems like we've got more truck traffic than we have ever had before. starting at 6 in the morning, even before 6 in the morning, and they are flying down. Pardon? That's, yes, yeah, I didn't want to, okay, I'm glad you said it, I didn't. But, I mean, these trucks are starting before 6 o'clock in the morning, and then you've got them flying down Traver Road, but you've also got the kids that are getting on the bus. I was shocked when I saw the way the truck was flying and had to stop because the kids were getting on the bus right off of Traver Road. And we've got to have signs that maybe just say, you know, first of all, it's not 55 or 60 miles an hour down Traver Road, maybe more like 35, you know, something a little bit more realistic, because I remember the day that I came running to the end of Traver Road. This was years ago. I won't mention how old my kids are right now, but there was a car that went right underneath the bus, right at Traver and Rawls Road, right underneath it. And there's kids that are getting picked up right there, and now we've got trucks that we never had before, and I don't want to wait till somebody else's kid gets killed. Not that my kid got killed, but it was pretty terrifying to hear, we can't let your kids off the bus until they're all checked out after that car went right underneath the bus. So Traver's getting kind of nasty.
You're going to find, when we have like things like these traffic problems that we had just recently, that people will find alternate routes.
Yeah.
And they'll try to get around anything they can. They'll speed, they make up the time that they feel that they're out of the way. It's not a great situation. I will tell you that I did go talk to the state troopers, and I had them come out here they did 14 days straight. And I do know that they pulled a lot of people over. They only issued 5 tickets. So he gave me the report. There was 21 stops and only 5 tickets issued for speeding. That was his report. So sheriff's report's going to come next, and they're going to do a different part of the town. So.
But again, I think if you can put Traver on your list of
Point taken.
roads there, because I mean, that's your access right to, I think people are already starting out on 55 and they get off at Overlook and they come down Freedom and they come down Traver because they don't want to go through Eastdale and down 44. So I think they're taking that shortcut
We are
now.
very aware of all the traffic issues, and for you folks at home, understand, we have windows right here on 44. We see when the traffic is built up, we know there's a problem. So we do know.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Mary Meyer, Clark Heights. To the new town hall. I'm with Michael Reifenberg, because I think I was up here in February, maybe, January. I feel like I've come up here so many times that I forget which time I was up here talking about taxpayer money. But anyway, so all this work that he's doing, the engineer, is that all part of the original 14,000? Was that this year or last year? I don't know. There's been no formal resolution to pay this man for the work he's done so far. I guess I should say that first. And then he's going to spend all this time, and I think it's great that he's going to go to all the different departments and get what everybody wants and everything. But I also like to see some type of cost estimate that if they were to tear it down and build it new, between what he's working on.
We already had that last year, or the year before that.
Well, I don't know, but because you guys never voted officially that that's what they're going to do. They're going to renovate it.
Well, that report.
I think last time I came up here, you all looked at each other and said, yeah, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. But there was no formal vote amongst all of you that this is what we're going to do. So I kind of echo his about that. But I was just curious whether, while he's doing all this work and coming up with cost estimates, what would be the difference between new and renovating?
I want to say that the difference, so I want to say, if I remember correctly, the difference was the value of the building, if I remember correctly. The difference was about $800,000.
Right. Like I remember there was 2 prices and stuff, but now he's actually walking through the steps to come up with an actual plan of what he's going to do to be done
Okay,
with the building.
let me save you a lot of worry. So, when you decide to tear down a building, that's fairly easy to figure out the number, okay? When you decide to redo a building, okay, the easiest way to do it is to gut it all and start fresh and just leave the bones.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. This is a different form. This is gutting what we need to and just adjusting from where we are and adding and subtracting what we need. There's a lot of good to that building.
Oh,
that's
I know,
safe.
I'm sure there is,
So
I just feel like amongst the town board.
It's a
you-
different-
You all haven't actually did an actual vote, that you're all in agreement to what's gonna transpire.
Okay.
And I've gone to every meeting, I've not seen a formal
So-
resolution doing that, this is what we're gonna do.
Let me refresh your memory, Mary, because you brought it up at one of the meetings. and
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
100% right, and I gave
That's
you-
why I can't remember
and the
which
next meeting I gave you-
15,000 that
and
this
listen to me-
work is
listen,
covering.
let me finish what I'm saying. The next meeting, I gave you credit for a meeting that you missed.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And you called up and said, thank you for giving me credit for that. And I had asked the board, Mary's right,
Yeah, I do remember
we
that.
did not make a formal decision as to what we were doing with that building. And at that meeting, we did. Okay, so I believe I can call the record up because I remember it clear as day.
All right.
And you called up and you reported to me and said, thank you for bringing me up and giving me the kudos for bringing that up.
I did watch that.
You remember that now?
I did
Okay.
watch that meeting after.
All right,
that, but-
good.
But anyway, that's why we're going forward with this and just, I guess, do we want a whole new one? What's the difference between renovating and a whole new, and anyway.
Okay.
I think if he's doing all the work anyway, then have a price comparison.
Sure. Anyone else? Uh-oh, now I'm worried.
Hello, Terry McCormick, Wigston Road. I don't know what you're going to be bringing up about the tires, so this is maybe even already been discussed, I have no idea. But I know that the town does work with Climate Smart. So in thoughts of like Riedel Park, I know that they're looking to do like a lot of planting and stuff. So maybe something to just kind of keep in mind is, you could use those tires as planters. Recycling anything that we can is always good. I know that they also do obviously a lot of different work around town. I know that they did some planting around the library, I believe also. So I just wanted to maybe throw that out there just to kind of keep in mind.
Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Not hearing any, I move till we close the meeting to the public.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Old business, rules of the board.
Yeah,
You know what I think.
I know.
So there's a couple
So-
things that I made changes on that you feel that you want to bring them up?
Just to make sure, yeah, we're all on the same page. So, you guys have all had this for about 2 months now. Supervisor DeVecchio sent all of us his proposed changes. I went through and I adjusted all of the changes that he made. So I haven't, up to this point, heard anything against them, so I just changed them and we can have that discussion tonight. But I just want to, do you guys have them all in front of you? Yeah, okay. The one that I didn't change was section 4, if you guys all want to flip to that. And let me just pull it up on here, because I don't have a copy that you guys have. So you had crossed out, so just so they know what we're talking about, the supervisor shall be the presiding officer and shall chair each meeting of the town board. In the event that the supervisor fails to appear at the time fixed for such town board meeting, the deputy supervisor, which would be Councilman O'Hanlon, or in his absence, the town clerk would call the meeting to order. And you had suggested that crossing out town clerk and putting our order of secession, which was in a resolution from the reorg meeting, until there wasn't a quorum.
Right.
The reason why I left it, though, is because all this is doing is that first part is somebody just, so either you, if you're not here, then it would be Councilman O'Hanlon, and if he was absent, it would be the town clerk or one of the deputy clerks, would just call the meeting to order, and then it continues on saying if the meeting is called to order by the deputy supervisor or town clerk, then the town board would have to take a vote and basically select somebody to be the presiding officer or the temporary chairman. And if you had showed up, let's say 10 minutes late, you would automatically assume your position as the chair. So basically, if we get rid of town clerk and we put the order of succession in there,
Right.
we would then have to change that whole section, and then we'd actually have to change the sections below that as well, because it actually talks more of okay, well, if we call the meeting to order, there's not a quorum, it actually lays out exactly what the town clerk would have to do, call the meeting to order, do a roll call, basically do the pledge, and then announce the lack of a quorum, and then adjourn the meeting. So I personally don't see the reason to take town clerk out of there, because it kind of takes, they're really not doing anything. All we're doing is calling the
You're
meeting
calling
to
it to
order
order.
to then have the town board vote who's gonna be the chair, to then just start the meeting. Nobody's really doing anything here except starting the meeting and saying, let's, So I
That's
left
fine.
that one because we'd have to change a whole bunch of other things.
I was just trying to keep the town clerk out because she really
yeah.
has to stay apolitical when it comes to
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, I get it. But
That's
that makes
fine.
sense.
So that one, I changed all the other ones. Does anybody have anything that sticks out that we should be adjusting?
No, besides that, I think that was.
Yeah, go
That was
ahead.
pretty much it.
I had a couple of
Yeah.
thoughts, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
One was just, you mentioned the difference between the regular meetings and the workshops.
Where are you
but,
looking?
Where are you? What
At the
section?
very beginning.
Okay,
But then it wasn't clear to me whether there was any difference in anything else. If you wanted to clarify anything else in
what do you mean, like,
the conduct of the meetings, or
Well, I think-
agenda preparation, or anything that would be different about.
between a workshop and a board meeting? I don't think, do you guys do anything different between a workshop and a board meeting?
We've been trying to kind of mainstream everything the same. We're
Yeah.
opening it up to the public, this almost the same.
If I may, we went into this discussion of what a board meeting is versus what a workshop meeting is, I think 2020, we had this argument with Rich. Inherently, from my understanding of all this, really, a workshop meeting and a board meeting inherently are the same. We're all here, we vote at either. We call it a workshop, he even gave us the OCS
Right.
interpretation of this, that like there really is not a workshop meeting, so maybe we just.
Well, except if you wanted to try to keep most of the resolutions on the
Right.
board meeting and not the work,
I think is the idea of this.
One of the things I think is fair to the public, more so, is that if we have, a discussion at one of the meetings mostly, so the topics come up, and we try to separate it that way, so we call it the workshop meeting, so that we could discuss, put it out there, introduce, lets people hear it. This way, someone who's a concerned citizen can actually take those notes and do some homework and come back with their own opinions when it's time, for the public part of the meeting. And they're prepared for it as well, because they're not privy to a lot of the things that we are. We can go into, a lot of the history. They have a lot more work to do to find their notes. So if we separate the meetings and try to keep all of our resolutions onto a regular meeting, that meeting technically is the resolve. That's the resolve of everything and all the discussion. And I think we've been doing pretty good right now, the way we've been doing that.
So are you suggesting section 5, number 1, where it lays out the order of business? Are you suggesting that we should maybe have a different format for the workshop meeting, like for the agenda, or?
Well, I guess it kind of leads into my other question,
Yeah.
which is how items get onto the agenda, and whether that could use a little bit more clarity as far as setting the agenda.
Yes.
And that, that most resolutions ought to be put on the meeting and not the workshop.
Yeah, so,
It's under meeting agenda, it says, the
Yeah.
agenda shall be prepared by the supervisor and it shall be closed at 3 PM. But wasn't entirely clear to me how a department head or a board member, proposes an item.
yeah, so we can put in there, if you want, an email to the board secretary and the supervisor. Because, that's the process we follow now. We just didn't put it in there, so I definitely,
You just said section 5. We're
sorry, she's
I'm
looking
on
at section 3 now.
I'm sorry.
section 3, thank you. Okay.
So what she's suggesting is putting in there that we put in there that specifically that anybody who's putting a resolution or anything as a discussion and adding it to the agenda, putting in there in writing that it needs to be sent to the supervisor and the board secretary,
Yep,
which is what we're doing.
That would
Yeah.
make
Does anybody
things
have a
great.
pen that works, just so I can jot a note down? Mine ran out of ink, so.
Oh, yeah.
Just
So So, in terms of thinking about that, though, under section 3, number 4, the agenda for a special board meeting. So technically speaking, if I remember correctly, and we've been through this 1.5 million times now, the special meeting agenda can only be the notice of the special meeting. Like, we can't set an agenda for a special meeting. The special meeting agenda is like the purpose of voting to approve the.
Something, yeah.
Something, whatever, right? So, there really is no agenda for a special meeting.
Yeah, what this is saying is, yeah, it would be that we would have to,
Have the documents for the special meeting 2 days prior?
the agenda for a special town board meeting shall be closed.
There's no, like.
Basically, it's setting a deadline that, because, for example, a supervisor can call a special board meeting whenever, and it's basically giving him a deadline that he has to have out to all of us.
So we should
We
be
might-
worded differently, though, so it
yeah.
shouldn't be the agenda, it should be the business documents or
Okay.
the documentation for the special meeting shall be closed 2 days prior, right? Because we can't set an
It's not
agenda
an
for a meeting
agenda,
we can't
right.
set an agenda for.
So I will, if you can send me in an email what you want that to
Yep,
say.
yep, all right.
Just the documents.
Yeah, we're just changing the word agenda to documents.
So just documents?
Yeah, the documents for a
Well,
special
you
meeting.
want to
should
know
be
what
closed.
you're coming for a special meeting on.
Hey, we
Okay.
want to know why we're coming, like, we want to give everybody time, even the public, to read, we're giving them 2 days.
Well, the section 2, number 2 talks about all of that. That actually lays out how we all get notification and all that
No,
documents and
not
stuff.
what I'm saying, that's not what I'm saying, like, I'm saying the 2 days gives the John Q. taxpayer time to read what we're gonna vote on. So if we close the documents in terms of, we have all the final documents ready for the meeting 2 days prior, that gives everybody time to read it. Right, so what I'm saying is just change the word agenda on number 4 to documents, and that makes sense.
Honestly, I think maybe we could even delete that, because if you look at this special meeting part, it talks about,
Oh, yeah, okay.
it says, as well as a list of items to be discussed at such meeting at least 48 hours prior to the start of the meeting. So it kind of already talks about that already.
So
If we're
then-
not setting an agenda,
Right, so then just maybe remove it.
Well, let me give you a little insight on this, guys. Because quite frankly, we're working with the premise that we're trying not to have special meetings because they are very confusing to
Yeah.
the public, and it's not fair to them, because a lot of these things took place for the last, I don't know, four something years. I've seen the special meetings happen at 7 a.m., 5 p.m. when people can't get out of work early enough. So it's like, we're doing a great job not having special meetings. We may have one
Right.
at some point.
So what I'm saying is, if we just remove, it's spelled out in section 2,
No, you don't
how
even
we'll
need that.
form one, basically saying that 48 hours prior to us conducting the meeting, you gotta have everything done anyway, so there's no point in saying it again.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, let's just remove number 4, under section 3.
Remove the redundancy. That's fine.
Makes sense.
Okay.
and then I want to point out, just because you guys only see his changes, section 5, number 1, he had suggested, and we talked about this already, putting the public hearing up under C. And we talked about leaving it and putting it after F, the acceptance of the correspondence, because that's kind of the flow that we follow right now with the agenda.
Yep, makes sense.
Emily, what else did you have?
Well, my second issue was just how things get onto the agenda. So we
Okay,
have written
which
that,
I'll
yeah.
put that in there. Did anybody else want anything else changed?
No, I think everything,
You like?
So is everybody okay with putting a resolution together and passing this next meeting?
I make a motion, we put this to a resolution, get this baby to bed.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
I honestly think that may have sufficed as us accepting it, but we'll see.
Okay, Kirchhoff for zoning, there's nothing new on this.
We're meeting tomorrow.
Meeting tomorrow. Helen Aldridge bathrooms. Again, I'm going to point out, the big grant is being,
Submit it
Put-
Wednesday.
it goes in Wednesday, right? And again, I can't tell you, Danielle, fabulous work. Both you ladies, excellent.
Yeah, Danielle's doing a great job.
Thank you.
And so that's going to be good. Cleaning service for town hall. And and other bathrooms and recreation bathrooms. So, we had our 3 quotes. I believe one of them came in the lowest, right? You all got your 3 quotes?
I only
I have
see 2
2.
here.
Oh, two.
Oh, it was just 2? I thought it was, I
Yeah,
thought
I
someone
got
said it
R
was
and
3.
C and C and D window. I don't have a third one.
You didn't have a third? Okay. Anybody want to,
I just have a question. Do we have, is this a line item that we already have budgeted for, or is this gonna require a budget modification?
it'll probably require somewhat of a budget modification, but we've had them before,
Okay,
so they were left off for some reason recently.
okay.
Anybody want to make a mention or discuss the numbers?
I just wondered, is R and C breaking this $14.50 up into a quarter that amount every week, or just a flat $14.50 every month?
Monthly cleaning includes, so it's monthly.
Okay, so when you figure it,
the amount.
yeah,
$14.50 is per month for everything.
that's not gonna change whether it's a 4-week month, a 5-week month.
Right.
You know, okay, cause I'd have to do a little math with the calculator, but
No,
that, it looks like the two, when you compare the weekly to the monthly, are coming in very, very close.
Well, I guess,
For C and D. Yeah.
is
Correct.
on the one that, is weekly or per cleaning, is like for the highway, the $80 per cleaning?
Yep.
Are we basing that off of, that's only every 2 weeks, like the,
Yes, they crossed out week.
It's per cleaning, not per week.
It's per cleaning.
Per
So
cleaning.
is recreation, is per
Per
cleaning.
cleaning,
So,
okay.
but if you figure it out, it comes out cheaper than the $14.50.
yeah. a lot.
Oh, okay, I didn't catch that they're only cleaning the highway and the wreck
It's
every
crossed
2
out, but the
weeks.
print
Yeah.
didn't come out really.
Yeah, it's a,
So it's a little, it's a considerable difference.
Yeah, when you cut that only twice a month out, yeah.
And then I want to bring to the note to everybody, the price to strip down the town hall floors. If you look at these floors, they're,
I'm all for that.
yeah, these floors are
is
disgusting.
that $400 total?
Yep, for the whole thing.
Wow.
460.
I used to have to do that every week when I was in
Yeah, we
the
should
Marine
jump on that
Corps, and
price,
I
wouldn't
gotta tell you, it is a powerful lot of work, so at 400
Yeah, I
bucks,
was gonna
we're
say, we
getting a
should jump on
bargain.
that price.
Barry Ben just said he's done this in the past here.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
anyone,
Should we make a motion?
I want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve C&D Window and Cleaning Services Incorporated to adhere to the prices that they submitted for the proposal for cleaning of town hall, highway, and recreation offices.
I second it. All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
Okay. Old business. Authorizing the establishment of Supervisor Advisory Council Committee. So as I put forth to everybody, and a lot of,
You have to make a motion on table it.
huh?
You guys tabled it, right?
We have to untable this, correct? So I make a motion, we untable this topic.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we didn't really get a chance to discuss it because you guys weren't here. And we discussed a little bit about it privately. Mary, I've discussed it with you as well, right? Mary. So again, just to reiterate why I would like to see this happen is because I think in the past, we've seen some different things happen that we've never seen before in our town. At least I don't remember any. And I think something of this nature would help with a lot of the process of a handoff or the transition team, if you will, from supervisor to supervisor. Plus, when a supervisor first takes over, there's a lot of things that are thrown on in their lap that they're just not familiar with. That another supervisor, or someone in a supervisory position, can certainly advise. And it comes from, when it comes from somebody who's been there, it helps. It's a good thing. So that's why I'm asking for this committee to be established, and I believe we can make it 3 people, 5 people, up to 5, 3 to 5. I thought we'd start with 3, and if that particular committee wants to make it bigger, I guess they can do that if necessary, but I mentioned the 3 people that I thought would be a good representation of experience and a steady hand, if you will. And they were Mr. Butch Gardner, as a former superintendent who resided over a multi-million-dollar budget. Carl Tomick, former supervisor, and also Mr. Gary Veter, former supervisor. And I'd like to, if that's possible, I'd like to make a motion to have this committee started. It would be at the topics would be, if need be, well, I just make the motion, right? That's all I have to do. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have the resolution in front of us, but it was in
I'd like to
the
make a
last
motion,
one.
right.
Yeah.
Can, technically, is it already motion because they motioned it last time and untabled it now,
Oh,
or?
right.
So we're just in discussion now?
Yeah.
Okay. We talked, I think it's a good idea, you know, for everybody to have people to fall back on. Just a couple things with the resolution. Is there any way to maybe change the line that says, whereas the Supervisors Advisory Committee will consist of at least 3 minimum committee members with a maximum of 5 committee members? I'm just thinking, on this resolution, there's only 3 members right now. Let's say one of these members decided that they didn't want to participate all of a sudden. According to this, the committee's, it's saying that there needs to be a minimum of 3. Is there any way should we consider changing the language to say up to 5 and not setting that limit at 3? So if somebody decided to step down, they can still do stuff?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know I'm getting into the nitty-gritty of the words here, but we are setting a minimum of 3.
Yeah, I mean, I've asked these 3 people already, they've pretty much, I mean, yeah, I've asked them if they would consider being part of this. But if you think the language for the future is better, by all means.
And then the other thing which we kind of talked about is the 5-year term. We had the conversation that the supervisor is only a 2-year term, and my concern is that I have nothing against the 3 people that are on here at all. But at the same time, this is a 5-year term that we're suggesting, and we potentially can go through 3 more supervisors until these terms are up. So I would personally feel a lot better with a shorter term, just for the fact that, let's say you decided you didn't want to do this anymore. That would give you the chance. I know there's 2 other spots here, but if we do 5-year terms, we're talking about you, and let's say that there's somebody in a year and a half from now, and then we have another person in year 5, and all 3 of you, and you guys are the ones that are literally, should be part of this process of handing all this over to the next person. I just think it would be better if we lowered these
You want the
terms.
3-year terms?
Yeah, do it for the term, your term.
Because what you're saying, technically, I would be part of the first transitional process, and so would be the next.
Right, so here's what I think. So I think what I'm hearing is 2-year terms, but the first term would be 3 because you want 1 year of you and 1 year after you, technically, for the transition purpose, right? Right, like think about it. Like you want, is that what we're?
I just think 5 years with the possibility of 3 supervisors in that 5 years
Oh, that's a long time.
to be tapping into people that are literally just stepping from the supervisor position. I think 5 years might be boxing potential people that want to stay involved. I know we talked about maybe we didn't want you want to keep, you know what I mean? But
You could do like the Hall of Fame does and just say you'd have to be at least out of office one term, and then you can come back in, that kind of thing. You do something like that. You know, because I'll be honest, I know for a fact from several of the former supervisors that I've dealt with, leaving this position, there's a break that's needed. You're gonna be part of the transition from the person you're handing off to, and then when that's over with, I'm on vacation. And I'll see you later.
Yeah.
And then suddenly the dust settles, and then there's some more involvement in, and maybe, you know, they could feel their way back into things. And then at that time, I believe it would be up to that committee to say, hey, you know, we could use a fresh face, or this person may not want to do it anymore. And,
Well, that actually kind of leads me into my last question is, this committee, if we're forming it, is this something that, like, for example, we're putting 3 out of 5 on there. Is this something that if I go out and I find somebody that I think would be good on this committee, that I can bring it up to a vote and
Why not?
Well, because in our conversations and stuff, you've said the committee is potentially going to want to fill the other positions. I'm trying to figure out how is this process going to work? Is this going to be a town board? For example, these 3 people, these are your choices, but maybe the next supervisor has a different opinion on this.
Yeah, good point.
And I know you're trying to keep some continuity and everything, but
Right.
it might, just something to think about. It might put somebody else in a,
It's kind of like forcing it on the next person.
Emily, you look
Give
like.
you a little advice, but I don't know if you want to do
I
it
think that's
here
what I'm
or in an attorney-client session.
Well, we could do it here.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say, if you set this up by resolution, then the next board could change it by resolution, or this board could change it by resolution.
Oh,
The only
that
way
goes,
to
but
really
that
lock
goes
it
for
in-
every committee.
Well, some
Every
things
committee
are-
could be dissolved. That's why I'm saying this is, you know,
Well,
this
some
is,
things are by local law.
yeah, some
and
things are by
so-
local law,
yeah.
but some things, any committee we have set up can be disbanded by any board.
Yeah.
That's not an issue.
Okay, so I think that addresses some of, you know, if a future board wanted different people on the committee.
They could just dissolve
change
this.
it. There's nothing that
So,
really locks it in.
so the idea of this whole idea, my concept of this idea, was to help supervisors, okay? And what you want to do is you want to draw from the pool of knowledge that's available to you. And I felt that the 3 people to start were 3 very diverse and very even-keeled people, for the most part, in our town. And I thought it would be a good start. And if we left them up to the choices of people to pull on, that would be down the line. I don't know, if they wanted to, they can do that. What I wouldn't want happening is making this a political thing. I'm trying to keep this apolitical, if you will, because if you see the people I picked, they really, for the most part, are. And I just think that would be the way to go, I mean, in the future. And then if this was a ball that we can start rolling here in Pleasant Valley to the next person, I think it's a useful tool. It's just a simple, useful tool for the supervisor. Also to the board, I might want to remind you, there have been handoffs that were not very good. And there have been situations that were not very good. And I believe if a board had an opportunity to bring in some of the people that have history in this town and sit someone down like a supervisor, let's say, and maybe counsel him, some things in the past might have been a little differently. And that was what I'm really, thinking about too.
Well,
I'm only going by the history of what we've
Yeah.
seen.
Well, that's actually brings up another point is, I know these 3 people I've had conversations with, and I know any one of them I could call up and I would get their advice. Would you be open to, I understand with the transition of supervisor to supervisor and what's happened in the past when that happened, but I don't see why we shouldn't add in the town board as an advisory role to all of us, because I think all of us could get information from these
You have
people.
that in there, that you can call upon them at any time.
Well, in here, it's,
We
their,
just-
their reasoning is to advise current and any future supervisors. Yes, we can force you to take their information or have them discuss things to come to you, but the resolution itself doesn't really set up a capacity that we can use them in a formal way of saying, hey, let's throw this building idea at you, come back to us and let us know what you think. This is-
I think you, we're overthinking this particular committee. I think I wanted to use it for a little bit more of a specific kind of idea, more dealing with stuff that a supervisor has to go through for his benefit or her benefit, and more so for the handoff sort of in the future, so we can avoid some of the bad handoffs that we've had.
Okay.
If you want to create
No.
a councilman guild, we can certainly create
Well,
that.
yeah, I guess that's,
Well, the thing is too, meeting with an advisory committee like this, the bottom line is only 2 board members can meet with them at a time anyway, because you're discussing town business,
Yeah.
open meetings law.
And you
So,
wouldn't want to do that, yeah.
Yeah.
so my suggestion is I'd like to see it not say the minimum of 3, just so if somebody decides they don't want to be there, and I personally would like to see a shorter term, just for the fact that I think 5 years, you have 3 potential supervisors that could be
So
on.
what shorter term, give me
Whatever you guys want to do.
3?
I just think
Between 2
it-
and 3 is what I would say, it's a normal.
I'd say 3 years, because you don't want to have,
Then you have overlap.
Well, then you have overlap till, let's say you didn't run.
Mr. Vita, you want to say something?
Yeah. Being mentioned for this, I would like to say that he leaves, next supervisor is elected. I would go to that supervisor, say it's you, Mr. O'Hanlon.
And what did I do to deserve that?
You're a committee that is here to help you with a new one. If you do not wish us to, we're fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's more of,
We've been through this.
Yeah, and that's how I'd hope it all would
Yeah.
work, too. And
So a term really is insignificant, because if the new supervisor doesn't want it, we're gone.
well, yeah, I'd hope not, but.
well, you'd be there,
You'd be
but-
there, they just-
But it wouldn't be, we wouldn't
Yeah.
be put into commission, that's all.
You really don't have to
Right.
work out.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it just comes down to allowing somebody like you to join them, or the next person to join them before, that's my only thought process with the 5 years, bringing it. Because if it was a 4-year term for the supervisor, it would make total sense. I just think if the fact that we have 3
I
supervisors.
have no problem calling it a 3-year term, and up to 5 people, if you will,
Yeah.
that's the buzz language.
Just so, yeah,
So
if
if we can
somebody
change
drops.
that language,
I think
What?
3 is fine.
3-year, up to 5.
Up to 5
Up to
people.
5 people.
Yeah,
That's okay
Yeah.
with everybody?
it's fine with me.
So are we gonna put a new resolution, or do you want me to make an amendment?
Let's make an amendment.
Oh,
I'd like to get this baby to bed.
You got it?
I want to
Yeah.
move things off our agenda that we
So,
can carry.
I make a motion to amend Resolution 4011-2022.
To state,
We're going to strike out, whereas the Supervisor Advisory Committee will consist of at least 3 minimum committee members with a maximum of 5 committee members. Instead, it'll say, whereas the Supervisory Committee committee will consist of a maximum of 5 committee members. So that's the first amendment. And then the line I'll amend, resolve, the committee shall meet monthly and shall serve for a term of 5 years. I'd like it amended to resolve, the committee shall meet monthly and shall serve for 3 years. And then I'd like to amend the term of expire for Butch Gardner, Carl Tomic, and Gary Veter to read December 31st, 2025 for all 3.
And I will make a second to all those amendments.
Is that all right?
all in favor?
Aye.
Now we can pass the resolution?
Yep, so I'll make a motion that we pass the amended resolution.
I second it. Any discussion further? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. That's done. New business, permission to advertise for ZBA alternate committee member. We had another one leave, so we need to hire and get another one. All in favor of, I make a motion. Getting late. I make a motion, we give the permission to the clerk to advertise for a new ZBA alternate.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, changing a name of Field 2 to Howe Field, Howe. So,
Something has been brought to light that we should talk about in terms of this before we.
oh, really?
Yes, if I'm not mistaken, from what I was just told, a prior supervisor had promised that that field would be called something else to some other family. So we should talk.
Okay, so we're gonna move this to
Yeah,
executive session?
we should table that discussion, yeah.
That would have been nice to know.
Yeah, I literally, as I was coming here.
All right. Yep, that's fine.
Right, so, yeah, we should just have that, we should have the conversation first,
Okay,
so,
we'll do that one in executive session.
yep.
Recreation internship programs.
Yeah.
In the past, we've actually had an agency, Smart Staffing, give us interns. And one of the interns, we've had this 3 different interns with them. One of them was Jason, who we actually hired on a part-time basis as a permanent employee. So we have a good rapport with them. They contacted me again this year to see if we were open to a program. So I said I would present it to the board, but I didn't think, there would be an issue. They will supply the certificate of insurance, workman's comp. They pay the person directly, and it's usually approximately 6 weeks. Smart Staffing might go a little longer. I think they go by the total number of hours, because we actually had Jason, when he was an intern, through October and November of that year. So that was one agency. The other agency that contacted us is NABA, which is the Northeastern Association of Blind at Albany. There's a 16-year-old Pleasant Valley resident. He is, I guess, determined legally blind, but he is able to do office work. He doesn't need any special software if he's on the computer. And I said I would also bring it up to the board. Again, they will be supplying the COI, the workman's comp, and they will be paying this person directly. So
Win-win for
I'd
us.
like to go for it,
Yeah, I mean, would we need to give Sandy permission to move ahead with this, or do we need to give you and Sandy permission to move ahead with this?
I can't see. yeah,
Should we just in case?
Why can't we use it?
Is there a contract you'll have to sign?
I believe the Albany, the Association of Blind, might have an MOU. Smart Staffing didn't.
Okay, so should I make a resolution? Okay. I'll make a motion that we allow the rec director and the supervisor to effectuate any agreements necessary to make the internship programs happen.
I
Okay.
second it.
Okay,
All in favor?
Aye.
great, thank you.
You're welcome.
So the next thing is volunteers at the mill site. In the past, we've actually had some of the group homes that have located in Pleasant Valley help us out. And Anderson School contacted me wanting to know if there was something that we can possibly do. They want to give back to the community. So the supervisor and I sat down and we're thinking the mill site. So I had an initial meeting with them about 2 or 3 weeks ago. She wants to come and we're gonna inspect the site to come up with what they could possibly do on a weekly basis. Obviously, this is residents that can handle some of the work. So I would like to go ahead with that, if that's okay. And as I get more information, I could present it to the board. But we're thinking of them helping us out in terms of cleaning up the park for Memorial Day, you know.
Anderson provides
All the equipment, right.
certificate and stuff too.
And they'll actually have, obviously, a staff person there with them once we determine what we would like them to do. And I'll keep in contact with them on a weekly basis. I would kind of like to have maintenance also, you know, be aware of when they're going to be there, so, you know, there's another set of eyes. So I'm excited about that. Okay, and this was brought up once before about the town hall parking lot, that different organizations like to rent it, but I'm really not sure of what happened, so I'm gonna bring it up again. The board might want to consider a nominal fee for renting the upper lot. Why would you consider a nominal fee? There is work that's involved, especially when it's the upper lot. Fabrication also has to get a COI, besides the town getting a COI. And last year, there was one organization, I can't tell you how many times we went back and forth with the insurance company before an acceptable COI was submitted. And then it's, you know, paperwork and administrative work for Mary Beth besides my office, so.
Also, don't we have to be careful on Sundays?
Right, Sundays you have the issue of the church, yes, so, you know, it's not just come and use the lot, and I'm only saying this because there's time that's involved with town hall and rec staff in order to make this happen, so, if you are interested, to rent the pavilion, if you're a resident, is $50. If you're a non-resident, it's $75. If you were renting a field per diem, it's either $75 or $100. So you might want to keep it the same as a pavilion rental, just to keep it simple. So I'm just putting it in your lap to
Thanks, Sandy.
think about it. So if anybody has any questions? Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank
Sandy.
you.
Thank you, Sandy. And the add-on tires, transfer station rates.
Yeah, so, I don't know if you all got a chance to see it, but we got an email about just before 4 today.
Yep.
Just the tires, Highway Superintendent Baxter, looks like he got rid of the tires that we had through the transfer station, and the rates are much lower than what we thought they were going to be, I think.
Well, yeah, so,
So-
talking to John, I don't want to cut you off, but this is a new
Much
company
lower.
that's taking our tires. So last year, we had a different company that was charging us X.
Okay.
That's why our rates were what they were.
So he's suggesting that we potentially think
Lower.
about changing our rates.
Yeah.
Currently, I think it's $30 for a car tire. He's suggesting $5 for up to 20-inch. He's suggesting truck tires, $20, and tractor tires, $150, because we don't address that right now.
And they
Which
are
would
huge.
put us still covering our cost and whatnot,
Yep.
and it would cut down for the residents as well. So that's why I thought it was important. I know we don't like amending stuff, but
That's all right.
if we can have a resolution, I would hope that we can pass this at the next board.
Yeah, I think
We,
so.
we,
Shouldn't we put some kind of clause in there in case this changes, so we don't have to keep doing this in case?
Well, we would have to, we
I
would
mean,
have to
he's
vote
not
to
gonna
make any
find-
change anyway.
yeah,
Couldn't just,
No.
it'll change, it could change tomorrow, and we have to
Yeah,
do it
we'd
again.
have to vote to make that change
You know.
again.
I mean, if you look at the prices that he's recommending, I mean, there's still a difference
Yeah.
between what it costs us and
Yeah.
what we're charging. So even if it went up $1, we'd still be,
yeah.
but I mean, we're not gonna know until he goes and he turns in more tires, but, you know, I think we'll find less tires on the road if we're not
Yeah,
charging.
if it helps keep
Yeah,
that
for
from
$5
happening.
or $20, I
Yeah.
think we'll find a lot less tires.
Most of the auto repair shops in the area are charging a standard fee of $5 for an
Yeah.
auto or a light truck tire for disposal, so.
So are you going to do the resolution?
I'll
or
have
do-
that resolution written up, that's not a
Okay.
problem, yep.
That's all I have for that.
It works for me. Okay. There were no new business resolutions. So we can open the meeting back up to the public for items, any items at all.
I make a motion to open the meeting to the public for new business only.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody?
Greg Straley, Pleasant Valley, New York. I'm asking, my lawyer turned in the letter to the town. Has anything been done with it?
We received it.
Okay. I dug up documents that the planning board and the last 3 supervisors, I've asked.
Let me stop you. We received your letter from the lawyer.
Okay,
And when we read it and we discuss it, then we can discuss it further.
Okay, so I'm moving on from that.
Move on, thank you.
I have something else.
Okay?
I've asked the last 3 supervisors, you included, about getting hold of Pete Sotero about the hours of the operation at Peckham and the planning board, and everybody sat on their hands. Well, it was dug up. They turned in, Peckham turned in an EAF form, and it states the hours of that facility on it. It's a legal document that was turned in. So why is Peckham starting and Bonded starting whenever they want? The hours are 7 to 5. There shouldn't be a piece of equipment running, nor anything running up there before 7 a.m.
Mr. Straley, you've made this abundantly clear from all the supervisors that I can remember. Your complaint has been duly noted more than enough times than I like to count. And we now believe that everything is in the hands of legal counsel, and until that happens, we'll go from there. Until any actions from there, we'll go from there.
I'm asking, what's the town doing
I'm
about
I'm
it?
telling you right now, we've heard these arguments. We're not going to hear them anymore publicly. It is now in the hands of legal argument, so allow them to handle that, and thank you very much.
Okay, so what about the conveyor
All
up
of
there?
that Peckham
has nothing to
issues,
do
all
with-
the Peckham issues are in the hands of legal counsel, and that's where it's going to stay until we get a ruling, I'm sorry. Thank you.
It was brought to my attention that Peckham has a copy of the town's lawyer that was sent to my attorney and is flashing that document,
Everything about Peckham and
that is
you-
a privileged document
Everything
that
about
they got their
you and
hands
Peckham
on.
have been more than announced here. It's in the hands of legal counsel, and that's where it's going to remain until we hear of a ruling.
This needs to be brought out to the
No,
public
you
that
can do that on
Peckham
your
has
own.
this.
You can do that on your own. But we have heard these arguments now for years. It is now in legal, yes, we have. I've been here for 4 of them, okay?
And done nothing.
We've been here, when it's gone to legal counsel, and that's where it is right now, and that's where it'll stay until we hear another ruling. Anything new? Or is it going to be the same arguments?
The same argument? The planning board let Peckham put
Same
a
argument.
fence up.
It's been said,
On
it's been
O'Halloran.
heard. Thank you very much. Anything new? Any other topic?
No. No, that's it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Just actually a point of order. You just, a couple meetings ago, I asked a question on this town rule or town board rule thing. And the town attorney told me they already had changed that one, which is fine. I felt kind of embarrassed that I didn't know that, but how would I know that? You talked at them here, they're on the agenda to discuss, but I haven't seen what I'm discussing.
Good
Point of
point.
order.
Point taken, thank you.
Really quick, just so I understand, so we can make sure it doesn't,
So what happened was, we discussed amongst ourselves changes that we had kind of agreed on, and we never showed the public the changes.
no, they're on the website.
They are.
Yeah, if you go on to the correspondence for tonight, his recommended changes
I
are
think the
all-
last time.
No, they're on there too. That's where I got them from to change them. That's how I know.
All right, so-
But they are on there, his handwritten ones, but.
Phil Apicino, Pleasant Valley, Ravine Road. Mr. Supervisor, I don't think it's fair the way you're treating Craig. The guy has a legitimate complaint.
He's
All
made
he's-
that complaint, Mr. Apicino.
I know it, but you're cutting the guy off and you're pushing him out of
Listen,
the way.
we've
All
heard-
he's asking for is help. You know, it's not
understand
fair
that.
that residents that live around the quarry have to be woken up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when our zoning says it shouldn't happen. That's all I'm
Mr.
asking. I'm
Apicino,
just asking to treat the
These
gentleman,
items are now in
treat
the
him like a
hands of
gentleman.
legal counsel.
I understand that,
You
but the
need
way
to
you treated
understand,
him wasn't
we can't
right.
respond to it. He's willing, he wants
Okay.
to ask questions, and we cannot answer
I
them.
understand that, and
Okay.
I was gonna jump up and tell him that you've answered it, it's going to council.
Right.
But to push him off like that, the man has been suffering for years, like a lot of people. And the one thing you didn't let him finish was, there was a legal document, a correspondence between his attorney and the town attorney, that somehow ended up in the hands of Peckham. And they're waving that letter at people and boasting, and they're using it. How did that confidential document get into their hands? I think the town has an obligation to ask Peckham where they got that letter from. And they should send a letter.
You want to handle it?
Sure. My understanding, if I'm hearing you correctly, it's a letter that went from a town attorney to another attorney. I don't think there's any confidentiality associated with that. It would be a public.
But it was a complaint that Greg's lawyer sent to the town, and then the town's attorney replied to it, and somehow that correspondence got into the hands of
Yeah,
the
I
people
don't-
he was complaining about.
Okay, I mean, the thing is that if it's public information,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I don't think it was a
foil
public document, though, something that could be foiled, was it?
I
If it's
don't
sent
know
to the
the
board, it
exact
is.
document, but if
Was it a
it's
foilable document?
If it's sent to the board, it is, isn't it?
Well, it wasn't something that was internal to the town, right? It went out of the town, so I don't.
Right.
No, it was
I'd
a
have to
town
know more about the
attorney
document.
replying to a letter that an attorney sent in regarding a complaint. I don't know, I think it should be looked into, though.
Okay.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. Oh, do I have to say my name again?
Please.
Kathy Kruger, Pleasant Valley. The rental fees for the town hall parking lot or pavilion or whatever, I wanted to know if you're going to be charging that for nonprofits too, because like the Historical Society, they don't have a very good budget, and 50 or $100 is a big chunk out of their kitty.
They're part of the town.
They're
I don't
part of the
think
town, so
Okay.
I would,
They're a town entity.
Okay, I mean, I was just wondering where that went, what about your other non-for-profits or your service groups? Lions, Rotary,
first, I mean, it doesn't require the same work on our end, but if they're a town entity, I'm sure that there's gotta be a way that, there's some wing we can cover them under, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. We're going to look into this, to the fees and actually the setting of the fees, but good point made, thank you.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Appreciate it. Anyone else? Without hearing any, I move that we close the meeting to the public.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Before we I just want to make a quick announcement, actually. Riverkeeper's doing their river sweep this weekend. For anyone that's interested, they're also offering a free beer at like 20 different breweries throughout the Hudson Valley, so
Oh, my.
it's a good way to try some local beer. That's all I got.
So we're going to adjourn this meeting?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we move into executive session for 105.1F.
I second.
Would it also be for litigation or?
Attorney.
It would also,
Client,
yeah,
yeah.
also be,
Attorney-client.
it'd be two reasons,
Yeah.
attorney-client and for the other thing. So I want to thank you very much. We're probably not going to make any, come out of executive session and make any kind of
Yeah, no, I
motions.
can't imagine we're gonna take action, but.
We're not going to take any action. So thank you very much for coming.
You forgot the
Like to make a motion to come out of executive session,
Second.
Second, 10:35 PM, just for the record.
10:35 PM.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Oh, hold on, we didn't vote to come out of executive session yet.
Oh, sorry.
All in favor? Aye.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Good work, folks.